everyone. Today we are here for Blenders Pride Fashion Tour. Who could we bring to share the ultimate knowledge? It has to be Tarun Khiwal. So here is Tarun, and let's start the show.
Hi, Samar.
You had started your assisting and learning process, and you are not a trained photographer. Where I keep telling people that you should look at somebody like Tarun, who didn't go to all these fancy photography schools, but he learned it on the job, and that's what reflects in his work. So just to start off, just for the audience, because there are a lot of young people in the audience who are also engineers probably, and a lot of them who are trying to break into photography at the next level. So if you want to just add some elements to that, and we can get deeper into it.
Well, in terms of if you're switching jobs and all that, like if you've studied something and you're still passionate about photography, don't wait for too long. If you think that photography is your calling, if that's your language, just jump into it. There are a whole lot of kids, those who come with their parents to my studio, and they want to know what will happen to them. I left it in 1989. You can imagine sitting in Lucknow, and there was no clarity. There was no internet. There was no information. There were no magazines. There was no clarity about what will happen if I start doing photography. Everybody thought that I'll end up doing wedding photography, and today, even the wedding photography has some kind of respect. In those days, wedding photography was looked down to, it was not a very good thing to do. But so my suggestion to kids, those who are passionate about photography and they think that that's their calling, they should jump into it immediately. They shouldn't wait to finish the engineering or whatever. If they're into something else, just jump into it directly.
Yeah. So would you like to speak about, I mean, that's a very critical thing that, don't wait up. So let's say, I mean, there are two ways to go on this. Of course, there's never a right way, but people go through a formal education or they go through assisting part, now it has a lot to do with financial thing also. And today, as you know better, that going to a photography school, because technology is so disrupted that you can be a great photographer with your phone also. You don't need to. But the kind of work what you do is, this is not, it's not some rescue on your phone on some editing. You have a very clear plan how you work with your images. So would you want to reflect on that? And what we can do is we can talk about fashion then and how you started, because you worked in so many different, you assisted people like Prabhudas Gupta and all that, and there was obviously a huge learning curve. So if you want to reflect on that.
Yeah. So I started working with Hardev Singh and moved to Atul Kasbekar, and from him to Prabhudas Gupta. It's a long story how it went on, but it'll take more than half an hour to explain. So I'll just tell you a little bit about from inside you will get this feeling that I'm a people's photographer, or I like architecture, or I like food photography or wildlife or whatever. So depending on that, you'll have to first thing first, I think if you can join some school, it'll be nice, because you'll have some basic knowledge. In my timings, there was no such thing, so we were learning while shooting and making notes and then getting films processed and all that. In today's time, there are many schools in India also. They're very, very good. So join a school for 2 years, 3 years, and after that, assist someone, because whoever you like. If you like somebody's style, just go and assist them. When you learn on the job, when you're really working on a commercial assignment or a documentary assignment, when you're with someone, the learning is immense. It's something else. Not only you learn how to shoot, you learn how to deal with people, how to deal with many other things. There are many other aspects of photography. It's not only how well you shoot. How to handle the business aspect of photography also is very important. How to make money, because it's not very easy to make money in photography. I know many talented people. They are really very talented, but they're not able to make money. So these are things you will learn working with some a senior photographer, and once you learn from that, the biggest part will be coming out of the shadow of those photographers, because you end up getting into their own style. It's like when you work with someone for 3-4 years or 5 years, you end up shooting like them, and you'll have to really find what is your own sensibility. And if you are able to do that, then there'll be an easy path. Otherwise, you'll be seen as like, if that senior photographer is not available, let's take him because, he'll work out cheaper or whatever. So this is really important that you come out of the shadow of the photographer you have worked with and then create your own style, which takes a little time, but that's very important.
Yeah, so, in fact, that was my question because, you work with, some very, very senior, very experienced, talented photographers, whether it was Atul in Bombay or Prabhu, or even Hardev Singh, where you started, right? How did you, because, that's something which a lot of photographers do want to know that, how do we get away? Because, you do not want another copy of Tarun. I mean, because I think and that was your mission also, that you didn't want to become another Prabhudev or whatever. What did it take? Did it take a lot to do with what you were reading, seeing, or how do you develop that? Because I think that signature or that voice is the real struggle in today's time, where there's so much of digital noise that you have no idea where do I stand in this,
Oh, that's crazy. These days, especially now with Instagram and Pinterest and a couple of other things, that you said it rightly, that there's so much digital noise. You're bombarded by images. So as soon as you pick up a camera, something will pop out from your head and then it'll say, oh, this image looks like that, and it's so easy to shoot then. But I personally feel a photograph is not only just a photograph. A photograph is a little bit of you, little bit of the food you eat, little bit of the music you listen, little bit of the sensibility you have towards your kids or your parents, or it's the whole. Your personality needs to come out in the picture. If it's just the image just for the sake of the effect, which I see in these days a lot, actually, people do so many layerings in pictures with Photoshop and all that, and they forget to put the soul into the picture. So I'm saying, when you start getting within you, and it'll start reflecting in your picture for sure, without any doubt. So there'll be no, none of my picture looks like as if they were shot for Vogue Paris, or they have the typical Indian stamp on it. There is a ethos of Indian culture. So because I grew up like that, and I'm not ashamed of that. I didn't go to Paris to study photography and all that. So I'm very proud of that. I have a lot of pride in this thing that I'm an Indian. I follow the Indian ethos, Indian culture. So in a lot of my work, you will see that stamp on it. And if your personality is not coming through, that means you're not expressing yourself. It's not very difficult to pick up an image from Instagram and then just shoot an image like that. It's not so difficult in today's time with technology and the new kind of cameras. With digital technology, it's so easy to make a picture look like an Instagram image. But my suggestion would be that it needs to have your stamp. It needs to have your own personality reflecting in those pictures. That is where the game will change. That is where you'll make your name.
Right. So, which takes me to, you come from the era of analog, which is film, and that has given huge amount of discipline, unlike today's digital, which is basically, carpet bombing. And if I can say that, and then you try to rescue something out of that, kuch to lag hi jayega types. So I was just thinking that, for you, is it the discipline from analog where you shot those 4 frames? Partly we couldn't get films, partly we couldn't afford it, all that other stuff was always there. But when you came into digital, because, I mean, I know you work with a lot with you have a very, very specialized retouching digital team, but most of not most of all your work is actually created in your camera rather than the studio. A studio is more about if there's any rescue element needs to be done in terms of, creating certain contrast and all that. But, you are not the kind who's chopping away, which is what the trend is. So how do you, that discipline of I really would like to hear from you, which I know that you have a much more deeper connection to your space. When you go shoot, you approach a fashion. People think fashion, blasting music, a lot of assistants. There's a huge circus. I go in there and boom, boom, motor drive, and I come out with the image. But you have where you go and you engage with your subject. You spend time in reading the energy there. You connect with the larger, connect with all those people. So if you could just want to reflect on that, that'd be really great.
Oh, Samar, it will take a long time, but I know it's as soon as it gets deeper, then you can't leave it on surface level. But so I would suggest that try to connect with yourself instead of just completely always looking into the Instagram and all that. Try to know what you like. You will start getting indications of what you like actually. When you are a good observer, when you know how to observe, when you go and sit in a place and you just calm yourself down instead of just picking up the camera all the time and getting ready to shoot. I mean, first learn to see the thing. That is what I'm saying. Learn to how to witness the whole thing which is happening in front of you. So there are things which will just pass in front of you, and there are things which will go through you. And these are the times when you get goosebumps. These are the time when you get tears in your eyes. Sometimes you smile unnecessarily. Don't miss out on that, because that means the energy of that space and the whole scenario is connecting with you. A lot of times when you sit, you suddenly get goosebumps, because the thing happening in front of you is so powerful. That means the energy of that space, or energy of that person, or energy of that whole scenario which is there is passing through you. It is connecting to you. And that is the time when you'll have to really surrender. And if you surrender at that time, automatically once you have a connection, then it's like you can struggle with the computer and the hard disk, and but until unless the Bluetooth or the firewire connects with it, you can't download anything. And once the connection is established, after that there is a free flow. That means you are not using your mind to do the intellect. There is higher intelligence which guides you to click that picture. It's very deep. It depends on how much meditative you are, how much you're ready to surrender, and how much you clear the clutter in your mind. If you have a lot of clutter already in your mind, if your glass is full always, and then you are just trying to approach something, it'll be difficult. But if you have an empty glass, it's easy to fill it. So surrender, I would say, and witness.
That's a great philosophy, because I think we all have this mechanism of trying to either mold or influence or eat into things where we're already full. So that's why we digest it. It's like overeating in a dinner party. It's not helping.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So which brings me to something else. You obviously work with very very experienced brands, global brands, and globally you shoot. And you see what happens in the rest of the world and what has happened in India in, let's say, last 20 odd years. How do you see the future of fashion, especially for young people? One would be interested. I mean, nobody can predict, but with this technology and such overload of finer pictures and more retouched and more whatever story people are trying to create, how do you see? I mean, you did say about that. It's about your own purity, your own thought that will last you forever. But do you think that in a larger context, where do you think this is going? And I know you're not looking in the future, you can predict, but your thought, your experience,
Well, I think technology it's a tool. You see, Photoshop and digital technology, these are just tools. It depends on how you use them. The photographs are not shot only. The camera will never shoot a picture. You'll have to bring it here first, bring it in your heart first, and then click the picture. Otherwise, it's just a photo. You have to. Image making is a very different thing. So, but you cannot deny also. The technology is. It's like today's time we say that, oh no, I want to go in bullock cart only because that's very organic and the real thing and all that. But the cars are there, and they can make your work easy. The technology can be used nicely. If you see my images, I just use them to process, and there's no layering. So I met this guy, and he was and he came with these images which were like really crazy images, and the girl with the wings, and demons and angels and surreal atmosphere and all that. So I asked him, where is this coming from? I was like, have you traveled somewhere where you've seen this? He had not traveled anywhere. Oh, okay, not even India properly. So I said, you've seen these, whatever. So this is just effect photography, okay? Because, and there was some. I said, can you show me the raw image? And so he looked for the raw image in the laptop, and then there were some 38 layers on that shot. So and I said, like, just for the heck of it, just for the sake of creating effect, I'm saying, if that's the photography they're doing, then it's a little crazy. I would say, understand yourself first, understand what you like. Uh, your sensibility needs to reflect into your pictures. If uh, that's not happening, it's just not correct. You need your impression in your images, only then you'll be successful. Otherwise you'll probably make some money in photography, but that's not photography actually.
Right, right. Yeah, and also I think, as you may, I'm sure you would agree to that, because of the speed of how pictures are consumed today and flushed down, your staying power is really critical. And as you said, you got to be honest with yourself first. That is what will keep you there. Otherwise, you are just a flash in the pan or one trick pony, and it's over. So, which brings me to something else, which is about because you spoke about the technology part of it. Is there a lot of pressure on that? You have to be very, I mean, of course pictures are made by the photographer, but in terms of because a lot of young kids end up buying really expensive gear. So that is something which you should really speak about, because I think they you make such a big hole before even you start off.
As I said earlier, the pictures will be made by your mind and your heart, and when you connect with the whole thing. Camera is just a medium, so a small camera also will do, and a normal camera will also do, a film camera will also do right now. People are going back to the film camera, and they're going back because right now they feel there is a shallowness in this thing. Oh, now this digital thing is just not happening, let me just. So they're not going because of the love of it. Suddenly there is a trend. So this following trend is like a little crazy thing, I personally feel. But cameras and gear and lenses, these are just tools. I started with a normal 50 mm camera, 50 mm lens, and you can shoot portraits also. You'll have to just keep a little distance, but so don't fall for it. It's good if you have it, if you can afford it, it's very good. But for people, those who are not able to afford it, just start with whatever you have. It's no big deal, and you'll find your way. Just pay more attention to create your own sensibility.
Right.
That is more important.
Could you give me some idea on any artist or photographer who has inspired you, or a few of them which you like to name them?
Not just one or two, lots of them. Like right from when I was young, I loved Herb Ritts, Stephen Meisel, Richard Avedon, and then later on many other, David LaChapelle, and then many other photographers later on. In India, Bharat, Prabhudo, Sudhir Ramachandran, and many photographers. But the thing is that I was inspired, I learned from them, but I was not trying to be like them. It's good to know what they've done. It's good to know how they've succeeded. But you'll have to find your own journey. You'll have to find your own way. Don't try to copy anyone. Don't try to be the second part of or be photographer of that particular giant photographer you like. But so it's okay to like someone. Inspiration is fine, but find your own language. But this is very crucial. I keep saying this again and again, and I don't know whether how many people understand this. That it's important for them to find their own language instead of just looking at, other photographers all the time.
Which brings me to from still to let's say looking at the future, because the technology, the consumption, everything coming on screen, projection and all that stuff. Do you think that there may be a huge amount of shift from still photography in, let's say, in fashion world, for example, going to more into moving images? Do you think there'll be a lot more film to be consumed and less of stills, you think?
I think it's already happening with us also. I've been also shooting a lot of films, and, these days, every client is asking us for film. Every client. So you cannot escape this. This is going to, because the medium, earlier we were shooting only for magazines, so there was only a still part of it. Like you click a picture, it will get printed in the newspaper or magazine or a hoarding. Now the medium has completely changed, especially because of the pandemic. The medium is digital. Digital means like you can put a 5-second film also, a 10-second film also, 15-second, and nobody is asking you for money as well. You can just upload them. Earlier, putting a campaign, a commercial on a television would have costed you a bomb. Now there's no such thing. You can make your own channel and start showing your own work. So the possibilities are crazy, and people are shooting films with iPhones, and they're getting used by advertisers. So of course there is a paradigm shift. It's huge. And like everything else, there are people jumping into it. Like whenever something is hot, like people start jumping into it, whether it's opening a restaurant or opening a boutique, or the photography and video is the new thing, because you can just and the cameras are so smart that it's so difficult to make mistakes, and especially in today's time, your mistakes are also your special effects. So so it's just crazy, but I think there is a huge shift happening already.
Right.
Already, you can't escape that.
Yeah. So that brings me to I think we're running out of time. Also,
also, Samar, if you see, all the still cameras have the video facility. All the still cameras, and they're broadcast quality.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, no harm in trying that.
Right. Yeah.
That means you have to be a storyteller now.
Yeah.
As a photographer, you'll have to be a storyteller also now.
Yeah, it's actually, and I think that's where the success lies. It's how good you are at actually putting the story across. So, which brings me, I mean, since you worked on hundreds and thousands of campaigns, does anything sticks out? Because, I think viewers would like to hear which were your own favorite campaigns. I mean, difficult to pick out, I'm sure. But, your relationship with, let's say talking about specifically just in fashion business, it's not about that you go as a photographer. You have very, very deep relationship with the designers and the team. So if you want to speak anything around that.
Well, two campaigns which are very dear to me is, one is Sabyasachi's campaign, and the other one is Lafayette campaign, because they both gave me possibility of expressing fully, like, without holding myself back at all. It was so amazing to see that I had a free hand to express myself completely. We were talking, everything was about Indian sensibility and making it contemporary in today's language. In Lafayette campaign, I was able to go to Varanasi, which I loved. And we shot the whole thing there, and this whole journey about this girl, which we were just trying to capture through the stills and the video. And I shot it for 2-3 times in almost like 3-4 years of time, like to 3 campaigns I shot. And eventually I realized that it was just not that girl's journey, it was my own journey. I was just living through her. So sometimes you get these opportunity to sort of express yourself without even realizing that it's not a fashion campaign, it's your own life journey which is reflecting through the campaign.
Right. So, that brings me to, because a lot of people think fashion as, you go as a photographer and, there's a designer and there's a model and then the team which goes with it. Your input as a photographer is obviously it's a very collaborative space. It's like working, I think fashion is one thing which is like going on a film shoot, because there's so many people who are working on like so many other still shoots. So how does that work for you? Do you want to reflect on that, the collaborations?
Yeah, so it starts way before we are actually shooting the campaign. So there are talks. Earlier we used to meet personally. Right now, whatever we are doing is through these chats only, Zoom chats. But there are talks. You sit, you tell your idea. They give you their idea, like what they are looking for. You understand what is their requirement. You understand what is their audience, how they want to reflect the whole thing. What is the market? You understand everything, and then try to bring in your own artistic ability to just project the whole thing. And at the same time, you're looking at like how can you put your own impression into your pictures so that they are seen as your images. They should not be like people should see and say, okay, fine, this looks like it's shot by Prabhudo, or this is shot by Samar, or this is shot by Hardev Singh. If that is not coming through, that means as a photographer, you've done a campaign, but at the same time, you were not able to put your own impression in. Like you can easily pick up a Prabhudo's campaign and say like oh, this is shot by him. So that personal touch is very, very crucial. I personally feel it is very crucial. If that's not coming, somewhere the photographer has failed.
Right. Yeah, and you're right about because of so much of overload of imagery, it's so easy to be forgotten. And I think to create that impression which can last you beyond one great shot, I think it's really important to put your heart and soul into it. So, so we are coming towards end of our time frame here. I just wanted to speak to, because there's one specific thing about every photographer has a graph memory. It's given I just want to talk about this hashtag, my identity, my pride. And let's hear that, because I think overall what you've been talking about is being a photographer, your identity, and that is what the pride is, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely. So, for me, my identity, my pride is my country, my tradition, my culture, my ethos in today's time. I'm saying not like pehle kya hota tha. That's fine. Whatever they used to do earlier, but in today's language, how do we make youngsters believe in what we had was also beautiful, and we can carry. Look at the craft. Look at the fabrics we used to make here. So just don't follow the Western thing completely. There's no harm in it, but if you're able to bring in your ethos and your culture, your understanding about your own country, about yourself, that is what is important for me. It's if you're able to achieve that, we are sorted with my identity and my pride. That is what I think.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect one. So I hope lots of young people are very inspired, and this great, brilliant platform what FDCI is doing currently in promoting young talent, exposure, and hearing from somebody like you who's spent 3 decades in this business. And I think there's lots of learning. So thanks so much, Tarun, for this. I think we all have come out with lots of your little sound bites, because I know we can speak about it for hours. There's so much to share from you. But thank you one more time.
Thank you, Samar, and thank you FDCI and Blenders Pride for giving me this opportunity. I hope that the youngsters understand like what I was trying to tell in that limited time. Just look for your own sensibility. Just find your own language. That's the most important thing. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Samar.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so today we have had some really brilliant inputs on how to be, not how to be Tarun Khiwal, but how to be a successful fashion photographer. So you guys need to log into Blenders Pride Fashion Tour and apply in there, and let's see what's going to come out of it. All the very best, and I'm looking forward to the results. Thank you.